What is up, everybody? I wanted to do a quick run through on why Janna is so broken right now. Just for some extra context, I'm Master Tier Support main, and the reason I decided to make this video was actually I played versus a couple of Jannas, and I originally skimmed through the patch notes. I'm going to go to them now, and I think a lot of people did as well. Like, it's adjusted and full of other lots of more exciting stuff. Lulu nerfs are significant for the support meta, and there's Zeri, who wants to read about weird Janna number changes when you can go look at a new champion, right? And then there's some crap about there. Riot want to make Janna back more into a shield bot, which somewhat makes sense because Janna was really complicated to understand properly. There are some really high elo Janna mains, like Challenger rank 1, who abused Janna to the max. It was actually really hard to play Janna, and people didn't respect that properly. You had to constantly be W poking, and all of her power was, or half her power was in like being a lane bully. It was really hard to play versus a good Janna. So they've shifted a bit of that away, which makes sense really. I support that. She's got some base stats moving around. The auto range does hurt. If you play Janna quite a lot and you go into lane, you will notice the shorter range. But then we get into some more of the interesting stuff and why Janna has become so good. This is still relatively irrelevant, but Q. Some minor cost changes, minimum range, maximum range, and time to destination. This is a really weird change, and I'm honestly not sure if Janna is bugged or something, because Q speed has gone up massively. I will show it in game in a second, but it's actually kind of crazy how fast her Q is now. Just from like my feel of it and playing versus it, I would say her Q is almost as fast for holding it for like a fraction of a second compared to a fully charged Q before. It speeds down the lane, and you can actually combo her W into Q, and if you don't have any mobility, you will get knocked up. It's kind of crazy how good her Q now is. The W changes. This made it into more of a pick tool, 3 seconds duration. If you get W'd, it's actually a legitimate pick, rather than, consistent DPS. And her other changes are fine, like it's not that interesting. The damage going up for higher cooldown makes sense, and the range, honestly I never understood the difference between edge to edge and centered, but I think this is a small nerf still. Then I have the Storm. This bit is important. Updated, a friendly forecast. She gets 20% heal and shield power, which we will get onto in a second, but this actually interacts with both her entire kit, obviously, and this interacts with the rune. Shield also lost a tiny bit of base values, but went really low down cooldowns. So what this means is Janna is actually a much more reliable, constant buffing source, so she can apply Ardent and Moonstaff a lot more effectively now. This also means that Moonstone is good on Janna again. I think Mandate and Shurelias will definitely fall off in popularity, and that's another one of the cases of why she has a big win rate difference. Her Moonstone win rate is roughly 55%, and her other two mythics are sitting at 52%, because previous to this update, Moonstone was a bit of a troll item on Janna, as she wasn't based around the shield. And the Monsoon tick rate is kind of nice. I wish they would do this for Soraka's E. Okay, so this is the room page you want to get, and I will walk you through why each of these things are being taken. So, glacial augument is... I'll just give you a second to read it, I'm not going to read it out. Too long didn't read. Freezy rays that freeze people. These rays also give damage reduction, and it turns Janna's Q into... This wasn't good before Janna's update on Janna really, because Janna's Q was too unreliable to proc it. You would only be able to use it when running away, which is nice, and it was a good peel tool. Like, it was still used to be a viable rune on Janna, but it's pushed it into a really broken territory with the Q change. So what this does is it scales with heal and shield power, which is kind of crazy. So 9% extra slow per 10% heal and shield power. And we'll go back to remembering what was in the patch notes. Janna gets 20% heal and shield power for free. And then with Moonstone you can add an extra 30%. Add one extra item, that's getting you up to another 20%. So you can get 70% heal and shield power with some like 2-item power spike. and that gives you 70%, 70 times 9, 61% extra slow on a 30% slow, so you're approaching a 100% slow at 2 items, well 90%. And that's kind of busted for such a large field. It's like, it doesn't do damage obviously, but it reduces their damage. It's like Corky package level of messing up a field on a really low cooldown. So yeah, it's like better than a Brawl Mult, obviously without damage. And then the rest of the runes are pretty simple really. Magical footwear is a bit troll. You probably want to go perfect timing, but I play pretty greedily in solo queue, and I go for the scaling. Janna can move fast enough without boots, which I know will upset many Janna mains, so I say I don't rush boots, because rushing Ionians is a very popular choice, but personally I just want the extra gold on support, and you can't really build the stopwatch into anything. It's still viable to do that. You see supports in pro play do it, but I'm greedy in solo queue and still take magical footwear. And this is another important one. This is just obvious, revitalize, yeah, extra shield power, but Font of Life means that you can proc your Moonstone and your Ardent and your Staff of Flowing Water. I'm not sure about Moonstone actually, but either way you can proc healing effects, and that's why you definitely always want Font of Life on Janna. So I think that's summed up the basics of the build, and now I'm just going to go in game and show you something that these aren't like combos, but I'm going to show you the changes. If you haven't seen Janna for a while, it will definitely surprise you how fast the queue is. Okay, here we are in game. So first of all, I'm going to show off a couple of different Janna queues. If you've played Dark Janna before and you haven't played Janna since the update, you'll probably be shocked by this. Alright, this is a tap. That is absurd. This is to the point I'm thinking this is bugged. That's literally tapping it. It used to go like, I don't know, slower than a Morgana queue if you tapped it. Like, this is crazy. And then if you charge it, I'm going to leave it up to a max charge. That's pretty much unavoidable. If you're sitting in a lane bush, and they don't have bush control, and you charge that, and you walk over there to harass them or something, and you send a Q down the lane, it's next to impossible to avoid. Or even just that Q. That is not dodgeable without mobility. Just insta-tap. Just checking. It's so fast that I'm almost convinced it's bugged, but you know, it's not a practice tool thing. It's literally just that fast. What this means is, if you go up and slow someone, I'll do that again. If you slow someone and Q, there's no avoiding that. And then the big freeze raise comes out, and they've got to try and run away. It turns Janna into a really good champion for getting picks. Now, my rune doesn't refresh its cooldown. But anyway, and there's a little bar there. I haven't actually seen that before. That's for having extra shield power. So you have a pretty long window for these buffs. And I think that's pretty much all I need to show. This is why Janna is so good. It's pretty simple. Her cooldowns, she did lose quite above laning power. There's no extra damage on autos and no Ws, but I say laning power, you have so much stronger way of engaging and picking people with this fast queue. It's actually absurd. Okay, and I'm not sure how many people actually follow this because Janna isn't that exciting, but I'm kind of making this video mostly so I can say I told you so when Janna turns out to be probably not going to see pro play, but it's probably going to dominate the ladder pretty soon.